Thank you.
Oops. Let's see. Come off. Okay. And there we go. Well, first I want to thank everyone for taking the time to join us today and hear about some of the work that's happening in Hawaii. Let me just say that I looked up the definition of food security, and the short of it is that it's the availability of food and the ability to access it. So both have to be present. Sometimes food is available, but people may not have the ability to get the food or to have the money to purchase what they need. So that's another aspect of food security. Mostly what we've worked on is the availability, but we've done some work also with helping people access food. And there are many levels of food security, starting with the individual and the family. But you know, say you store plenty of food for yourself, you know, but your neighbors don't have food. So when you have a big disaster where food can't, in our case, can't reach the island, then what do? You know, do you just eat what you have and let everybody else go without? So that's to consider with your own family and also the neighborhood around you. And then as we progress up, you've got the city, the whole city that you're in, the county, which for us is 3 islands. And then the island, which you probably don't live on an island, but some of you do. State, region, country, and the globe. You know, everybody needs food security. Mostly we'll be talking about our county and our island today. So what can you do for food security? Well, you could grow a garden. You could start a community garden. We have one just a block away from our office here in Napili, which we were somewhat involved in the beginning. You can store food for at least a month's supply or more if possible, food and water. And you can help organize your neighborhood so that your neighbors have food as well. You can save seeds for planting in case it's a long-term disaster. You can build a greenhouse for cold weather gardens. We don't have too much problem with that here, but most places on the continent do have that issue with cold winters. You can shop at farmers markets. You can organize a farmers market. You can distribute local food to help build the availability and give a market to those local products, local food products. You can create value-added food products, things that are packaged that may have a longer shelf life. And you can support local farms and businesses. That's very important. So let's see. Let me this. Can you see the top word, or is this being covered on my screen?
Emergency foods.
Okay. So for the foods we were thinking you can store, we have some of these for ourselves. We also have a warehouse and a kitchen full of food that we can access when we need to from our business. But definitely water. You can go longer without food than you can water. Grains and beans, nut butters, dried fruits and nuts, dehydrated veggies, crackers, seaweeds. Potatoes and squash have a long shelf life, like when I was growing up on a farm, my dad would always save potatoes from the garden in a cool area in our barn, and they would last for months. Here on the island, you can get coconuts that last for quite a good time. Canned foods, pasta, freeze-dried foods, honey. Honey never goes bad, so you can always have that. Oops. Let's see. Just move. There we go. So some information about Hawaii's early food system. They called it pupua'a. And this system lasted for nearly 1,000 years. It's not known exactly when it started. There's some various information about that, but it's about 1,000 years. And ahupua'a, generally people take that to mean from the mountain to the sea. But actually, ahu means heap, and pua'a means pig. So the thing is, the boundaries of the ahupua'a were marked by heaps of stone. And often a pig was offered to the island chief, or the chief of the ahupua'a. So that's the real meaning of it. But we can think of it as from the mountain to the sea. So in this, varied climate zones, they could grow a lot of different crops, some high up in the mountain and some lower by the ocean. And they were also located along streams, so they had water for drinking and for the crops. They say that travel was easier going up and down the mountain than it would have been going from valley to valley. There's a lot of gulches on this island. Now, Maui, there's 12 moku, which divided the land. It's, so moku, land division, or it means division, but in this case, land division. And about 90 ahupua'a. And moku puni means island. That's where the term moku came from. So each ahupua'a was self-reliant in their food supply, so they didn't have to go far for food or import any food. And the foods they had were known as canoe crops, because when the early Polynesians came to the islands, they brought the food in the canoes, the food to plant and seeds, etc. So they had taro, sugarcane, sweet potato, coconut, breadfruit, and banana primarily. They also had certain animals that they had for protein. And nearly 1 million people, is estimated, lived in Hawaii by the 1700s. And they all had local food to eat. It was a beautiful system that vanished with the onset of the plantation era. So you think that people back then could grow all their own food, without much equipment, very basic tools, and feed everybody. And also in this ahupua'a, community was a big thing, so they wouldn't let anyone go without food. So then came the plantation era. By the late 1800s, cane and pineapple covered the Maui landscape, and most of these crops were shipped to the continent. So a lot of sugar and canned pineapple arrived to the U.S. mainland. And, most of that is gone now. So it's like they came, took over the land, and then did away with the ahupua'as. And now when the plantations are leaving, what do we have? We have to start over. But there is still some pineapple, probably about 500 acres. And there is sugarcane on small farms that mostly we use for cane juicing. So I want to say a few things about Prout. Prout stands for Progressive Utilization Theory, and it was founded by P.R. Sarkar in 1959. Prout was and is my inspiration for doing the work that I do here. And I think it inspires some of our employees as well. So P.R. Sarkar said that the basic necessities of life should be provided on a local level to everyone. Food, water, clothing, shelter, healthcare, and education. And also it talks about neo-humanism, which stands for new humanism, which is not just for humans. It should cover humans, animals, plants, and the health of the planet that we live on. Also, Prout states that there should be strong local economies based on the cooperative system. I'll say more about that here in a minute. But if you want to learn more about Prout, you can go to proutalliance.org. And soon you'll be able to join as a friend of Prout. Maybe by the end of the year anyway. We're still working on all the details for that. So say something here about cooperatives. Let's see. Work. Let's go with this. Okay. So cooperatives. There are many types of cooperatives. Here I'm going to mention farmer-owned, worker-owned, and consumer-owned. Farmer-owned co-ops enable farmers to work together to reduce their costs and be able to share equipment and land. Worker-owned is a democratic workplace, and they are sharing of the profits. So everyone can make a more, not equal, but a little more equal amount of money for their work compared to what we have now, where there's, somebody might, the top manager or CEO might make 100 times more than the lowest paid worker. And then consumer-owned cooperatives, where you can increase your purchasing power by owning your own stores or buying clubs. And there's 7 basic co-op principles that most co-ops follow: voluntary and open membership, democratic member control, members' economic participation, autonomy and independence, education, training, and information, cooperation among cooperatives, and concern for community. Let's see. So I'm going to talk now about our business, Local Harvest. It started about 11 years ago. So we're on a mission to feed an island with local food. And we'll talk about also some organizations we collaborate with, because this is not something we'd be able to do soon on our own. So we want to move the island towards self-reliance in our food supply. Our goal is to take the island of Maui from 20% local food to 50% over the next 10 years by cooperating with local farmers, food buyers, and like-minded organizations. So a little bit about my background. I grew up on a farm, and to a great extent, we were self-reliant in our food supply. We had 160 acres, sometimes farmed up to 300 acres, and we grew a big garden. So got a lot of food during the growing season, plus my mother canned and froze food for the winter. And like I said, my dad saved things like potatoes and squash and different things that would last longer. Then I've also worked with a lot of different types of businesses, including retail, distributors, and manufacturers. So I have a bit of experience in business. And then about 50 years ago, I learned the practice of meditation, and that's helped me tremendously over the years. But one thing my guru said is, he was the founder of Prout also, is that, well, you can't just meditate and be happy, you know, you have to create a world where everyone has the ability to pursue their spiritual goal in life. And to do this, everyone needs at least their basic necessities met. So that's one of the purposes of Prout, to make sure everyone has their basic needs. And like I said, Local Harvest began in 2011, from small beginnings. Actually, I had lost my job. I was working for a farm that was trying to set up a model farm for the islands, and they weren't doing so well, actually, in making that happen. But I was able to learn about a lot of other farms and get some experience working at a farm here on the islands, which is very challenging. And then when I lost my job, a friend of mine called me up and said, "Hey, we're picking some fruits up in the hills here. You want to help us out?" And I said, "Yeah, I don't have anything else." So we went up, borrowed my wife's minivan and went up the hill and picked, oh gosh, probably 1,000 pounds of citrus fruits from that small orchard. And then I was the one that had experience with the different buyers, stores, and restaurants. So I started driving it around, and we sold everything, and then picked more and sold more. And then we started working with other farms and got their produce and distributed it for them. I would start out early in the morning, like 7 in the morning, and go around to all the farms picking up their produce, and then organizing it in the van, and which was my warehouse, and then distributing it to all the accounts in the afternoon. And whatever we had left, I stored in our condo closet, which eventually spilled out into our dining room. And when it got to be too much, my wife, Anna, said, "Okay, well, it's time to get a place." So we rented a 150 square foot office, which I also used for our warehouse, built a rack to put the produce on. And from there, we kept growing step by step. We went to a farm called Lakea Community, which was a farm for autistic children to learn how to farm and do useful things on the planet. And then we moved to the trucking company, rented some space from them. And then finally we got our own space, which has now grown to 3,000 square feet in the city of Kahului. So why are we working to build the local food supply? Well, 8% of this food is currently imported from the mainland or other countries, although produce is more like 65%. So we're doing a little better with produce. And some estimates go up to 80 to 90% imported. But I think since they got those numbers, things have improved a bit. So as we said, Prout states that the basic necessities of life should be provided locally. And we feel that the most basic necessity is food. So local food means food security. So, you know, Hawaii is the most remote landmass on the planet. When we have a disaster, say a nationwide disaster or a worldwide, we could likely be the last ones to get food shipped to the island. We got a taste of that during the pandemic. For a couple of years, it was, a lot of grocery store shelves were getting empty, and people kind of woke up and said, wow, we could be in trouble if this gets any worse. So a lot of new organizations started, food hubs, or things to try to put us in a better position for the next time. So the next thing is a stronger local economy. So, I've done some research, and if you spend $10 in the local economy, because of the number of times it circulates, it can be worth $50 or more. I'll give you an example. Say at the farmer's market, someone comes and spends $10 at our produce stand. Okay, we take that $10 and go to the bread vendor and buy a loaf of bread. They take that $10 and go buy some artwork from another vendor. Then they take that $10 and buy some nut butter from a vendor, who goes to another vendor and buys some fruit jam, who goes to another vendor and buys some jewelry. Then that person comes back to the produce stand and buys some produce from us. So how much is that $10 worth? Compared to spending that money at Costco or with an online business where you lose most of that money from the local economy. Even say you save $2 or $3 at Costco, a $10 item you can get for $7 or $8. Okay, you saved a couple dollars, but really you lost $50 for the local economy, which that money eventually will come back to you. So that's something to think about. And then third, you have fresher, more nutritional food. Food that comes from a few miles away and was harvested maybe the day before is going to be much fresher than food that travels thousands of miles and might have sat in a shipping yard or warehouse for a few days. When you get it, does it have any nutrition? It's hard to say. Okay, that's why we're working for a local food supply. So local harvest utilizes 4 avenues to build the local food supply. We do wholesale distribution to stores, restaurants, schools, and farmers markets. Direct to home delivery, coordinate weekly farmers markets, and create value-added products. And in all these avenues, we promote the vegetarian diet because as we see more and more, the vegetarian diet is really the best diet for our planet, best for the health of the people, and best for the animals. So first I'll talk about our wholesale distribution. Here's one of our trucks. Here's a grower delivering a pallet of strawberries. This grower is really amazing because he can grow strawberries all year long here. And there aren't many people that can do that. Here's Danny loading our truck for delivery to stores and restaurants on the west side. So we distribute our produce to 100 or more stores, restaurants, farmers markets, and food hubs on Maui, Oahu, and Hawaii Island primarily. Our fleet includes 3 vans and 1 reefer truck. Here's a van ready to go. Here's some pallets they're packing up to ship to Oahu, Hawaii Island, Kauai, Molokai, and Lanai. we shipped about 5 food hubs mostly on other islands. There's a warehouse crew. We have a really strong crew who's really dedicated to the work. And a few of them have been around for 3 or 4 years now. One thing I wanted to say about the workers, eventually we'd like to turn it into a worker-owned cooperative. But right now we're doing a profit sharing plan. So at the end of each year, we figure out what the profits are and take a percentage of that to give to the workers. So here's some challenges for the growers. You think, wow, we got a year-round growing season here on Maui, but there's other problems. For one, the insects don't die, because it doesn't get cold enough. Let me say something about the deer. In 1867, 8 deer were brought here called axis deer. They were from India, I think donated by the government of Hong Kong. So 8 deer sent to Molokai. These deer multiply rapidly. There's now 70,000 deer on Molokai and 50,000 on Maui, approximately. Hard to know for sure. And they have 2 babies a year. So they already outnumber people on Molokai, and in a few years, probably about 3 years, they'll outnumber people on Maui. And it's very hard to control this situation. A lot of the farms try to have tall fences, 8-foot fences that will keep the deer out. So this problem is going to get worse, and we're looking for solutions. We also have weather issues with hurricanes and a lot of wind damage and rain damage. We have pigs that have been here since the early Polynesians. And whenever there's a drought, especially, the deer and the pigs have a hard time finding food. So they go down the mountain and they look for food, and they find it on farms. We also have a lack of help right now. It's hard to get enough help to work on the farms. And theft. There's a good amount of theft, especially for the fruits on these different farms. And if you look at this little bug over here, it's called a bagrata bug. Oops, the wrong way. It is causing a lot of damage. I guess it arrived not too long ago to the islands, but they eat a variety of produce, a lot of the brassica family, mustard family, and even fruits. So that's another problem to solve. And here's a company called Mahipono that recently bought out all the sugarcane land on Maui, 40,000 acres. And they're planting food, a lot of it for local consumption, but I'm sure they're going to have to export some because there's just going to be too much, especially citrus fruits and avocados, things like that. So it's owned by a Canadian investment firm. So they're not locally owned, but at least the produce is being grown here. So we're buying produce from them, and we're always encouraging them to grow items that are not readily available already. We run into some issues where they grow things that already we have quite a lot of, and then we have to make the decision: are we going to support this company, even though the restaurants are asking for their produce to be delivered by us, or are we going to stay supporting our local farms that we've been working with for 10 years? So it's just a challenge that we have to work with. We, to this point, have mostly stuck with our local growers. So we buy nearly 1.5 million pounds of local produce, macadamia nuts, and honey from 150 local growers on Maui, Oahu, and the Big Island. Most of these growers on Maui deliver to our warehouse twice a week of 3,000 square feet with 1, 2, 3, 4 walk-in coolers. And we offer about 200 produce items. And we try to get 2 to 4 growers of each item in order to provide consistency to our customers, because that's one of the things they said early on, was that they'd like to buy local produce, but it's just not consistent. So we're trying to change that. Here we're putting faces to some of our farmers. You can see we have a wide variety of cultures and nationalities here on the island, from Japan, China, Philippines, Guatemala, and even the US mainland, and more. Here's some of the produce we're getting from the farms. Big variety. Beautiful, really beautiful produce. Some more farms. Lettuce, pineapple, persimmons. Anybody know what this is up in the right corner? That is longans, which are similar to lychee, and rambutan, that hairy sea creature looking thing. Delicious white fleshy fruits. Kumu Farms is our primary pineapple, but papaya grower. And then all those mangoes there are from Yee's Orchard, coming to the end of mango season now. This is an exciting project that I'm having fun with, although it has its challenges. Well, the bean project, we're working with Amjad, who does ag research for the University of Hawaii. And he's meeting here with Antonio Pena Francia farm on Maui to talk about the possibility of growing these beans. So Amjad has done trials on 70 different varieties of dried beans and selected ones that grow best here. And he sent about 17 varieties to us, which we packaged up to do some test marketing and focus group to, for one thing, find out if people are interested in local beans and how much they're willing to pay for it. So it actually went very well. People are willing to pay more than I expected. So this would be a first for Hawaii, and results are looking very positive. What we're working on right now is getting the funding to buy the threshers. These threshers are going to cost around $20,000 each. So the small farms can grow the beans. Then when they're dried out, they bring it to the thresher, and it removes the pod from the beans and cleans it. So you have nice, clean beans ready to sell. And these are some of the beans that we used in our test market, some of the better sellers. All right. So the next part of our business is called Island Fresh Delivery. It's direct to home delivery. Delivers to approximately 250 homes a week. And the deliveries are done twice a week, Wednesdays and Saturdays. And this business actually started in 2014. We purchased it from another couple who was getting to the point where they couldn't manage the business anymore. So we purchased it and are continuing to grow the business. So Island Fresh Delivery offers customizing options, local produce, value-added products, weekly delivery to your door, choice of 3 sizes of boxes, and different options are veggie box, fruit box, juicing box. We went from 100 boxes to 400 boxes in the first 2 weeks of the pandemic. It's now leveled off to about 250. But you can see what a little food panic can do. We're not asking for another pandemic, but we do want people to remember that they should keep supporting local food. Here they're packing the orders for the weekly deliveries. There's our crew, Doran, Angel, Magdalena, and Mohan. Very excellent staff. Here's one of our delivery vans, which we finally got our name on. Here's a lot of orders ready to go, being loaded on the van. That's Cameron loading his van. And Cameron's, after taking over a job, his hair grew. He didn't have time to get a haircut. So that's just a joke, but he handles sales, purchasing, and distribution for wholesale and home delivery. He's a surfer dude and a businessman. And I'm so grateful that, when the first part of January, I guess it was, I contacted COVID, and it was the long COVID. I had a hard time, and it took me 3 or 4 months to really recover. And I had I was doing most of all this work myself, and Cameron was familiar enough with it that he could take it over and keep it going. So super great. Third part of our business is farmers market, on the Napili farmers market. And we really focus a lot on community here. And I think that's, in addition to food and other products that people come for, they really come for community. So we're not only cultivating food, we're cultivating community. This is a twice-a-week market. We have approximately 25 vendors that have locally made or locally grown products. This market started with my daughter and I on the corner of the highway, just half a block from this location. Had a couple tables and a tent, and we're selling local produce. And then some other people started joining us, other farms, etc. And eventually we moved to the other side of this building. I rented an office space here, and we've been growing since then, one vendor at a time. Here's a lot of the produce from the Maui farms. We have about 300 shoppers coming twice a week. Offer as wide of a selection as we possibly can. A lot of people are really surprised to see that all these produce items are actually grown right here on the island. We have live music, Hawaiian music on Wednesdays. This is Moso, and the other picture, George Kahumoko playing with Moso. George has not been playing much lately, but he's a 6-time Grammy Award winner. He's a slack key guitar, and he used to play regularly. We also have open mic at the market on Saturdays. These are some of our performers. I actually perform myself sometimes when there's no one else to go on stage. But this gives people an opportunity to express their musical talents, and it's becoming very popular. Some of our vendors, from the left side here, we have a new bar soap vendor. I've been using this soap, and it's really amazing. Much better than these chemical soaps that you normally would get. And then we have sourdough breads, honey, raw honey. Here's 3 of our vendors. This shows what kind of community the vendors have between each other. We have a jewelry vendor that makes jewelry out of protea pods. It's a flower pod. There's another farm from just up the hill, Huamomona Farm. And there's some customers just having a good time at the market. We have fresh coconuts that we serve here as well. And fresh sugarcane juice. So there's still some sugarcane on the island. And sugarcane is very healthy. A lot of people think, oh no, it's sugar, but it's totally different. It has electrolytes, antioxidants, minerals, and if you drink it fresh, you get all the benefits of that. We have a smoothie bar that we created about a year and a half ago. And this is Kanoa. He's was with us for a while, but he's moved on because he's back to school. We have a nice selection of smoothies and cane juice. Here's my wife, Anna, and she's our farmers market manager. Don't let that smile fool you, because she rules with an iron fist, and she makes sure that we're making money. Because money's not the first thing for me, but I guess it has to be for somebody. She's always smiling, except when she's talking to me. No, that's just not always true. We appreciate her help, though. She jumped into this also when I was not able to do the managing of the farmers market back in January, and she stayed with it. She's also a yoga teacher. She does that as well. Here's our farmers market crew. Oh, this photo should go down in the history books. It's such a classic photo. I just love all the expressions on the people's faces. Now, the last part that I'll speak about as far as the business goes is our value-added product business. It's called Sattvic Kitchen. Sattvic means abundant and life force. So it's a package line of Sattvic food products, and Sattvic food is good for body, mind, and soul. Actually, I'm drinking a Maui Zinger juice right now from Sattvic Kitchen. So this is our macadamia nut spreads, cultured. It's like making yogurt, but with macadamia nut. We add the spices and vegetables to the mac-nut cheese, we call it, and package it. They contain a lot of probiotics and all the 5 flavors. We have sweet for the spleen, salty for the kidney, sour for the liver, spicy for the lungs, and bitter for the heart. This is, you'll find this in traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine. Talk about the flavors and how important it is to have all the 5 flavors, at least every day, if not every meal. Here's our salad dressings, which also contain the macadamia cheese and probiotics, along with organic olive oil, apple cider vinegar, and organic spices. Here's Mohan. He makes our mac-nut spreads and salad dressings. He's with the Hare Krishna movement, so it's important that the vibration of the food when you make it. He plays kirtans when he's making these products, and I think it makes a big difference. Here's our juice line, Maui Zingers. Call it Zinger because it has ginger in it, so it has a little bit of punch. I refer to it as a healthy Maui soda pop. It has ginger, lemon, and honey. We also have Hawaiian salt from Molokai. And some of these say Kona salt because we used to have Kona sea salt. This was it during the transition to Molokai. We add organic spices, and this is one of the main things we use to spice our food. You can add a little salt and a little nice spice flavor at the same time. And in the last couple of years, we started this line of our nut and seed butters. They're all raw nuts and they're stone ground, which means it takes a long time to grind it, but it doesn't create heat. So all the nutrition is kept intact. So it may take 12 to 16 hours to grind the nut butter. And then we package it up, and it's becoming popular. It's in mostly natural food stores in Maui. We have a partner in this too who helped develop formulas called Aloha Raw, and I'll talk more about them here in a minute. Our honey products, we have various sizes from pints to quarts to 5-gallon size. And then recently we found a good source of Maui honey, and most of the distribution now has been turned over for Maui. So we're excited about that. We have it's a new product line, our vegan cheese sauces. Just getting into the stores now. Actually, tomorrow, we're getting into 2 new stores, and we had so far just been selling it at our farmers market, and so it'll be in 3 stores by tomorrow. We have original tangy tomato and spicy jalapeno. I think the jalapeno has become my favorite. It's got a nice little kick to it, and the flavor is incredible. It tastes like cheese. Coming soon, but still needs a little work, is our coconut yogurt drink. There's getting to be a lot of coconut yogurts on the market, but I haven't seen any drinks of coconut yogurt. So we hope that this will be well accepted in the market. And we had 3 flavors: maple, honey, and vanilla. We have sold at our farmers market, and it was popular at that time. We have 2 certified kitchens on Maui, and this is some of the equipment that we utilize, from a large 45-quart mixer to citrus juicer that you just put the lemons and oranges in the top and it comes out juice. Here's another type of juicer. We have a stone grinder, 2 stone grinders now, 2 RoboCoop in each kitchen. That's a food processor and a sugarcane juicer. And then this is an old freezer that someone was throwing away, which we snatched up and turned it into a dehydrator and a hot box. We put our macadamia nut cheese in there overnight, and it helps the probiotics grow. And we're going to start using it as a fruit dehydrator as well. This is our value-added partners. We have Aloha Raw, and these nice people are from Russia, and we help them get started by our kitchen, and we did a partnership where we shared the profits, and we invested the money in the ingredients and the packaging and the equipment and everything. And since then, they've taken over that, buying their own ingredients. They still use our kitchen and pay rent, but we do the nut butters together as a profit sharing. And they make about up to 50 products now, which is based on sauerkraut. It's a sauerkraut formula from Russia that they use, and all kinds of very good, high quality, tasty products utilizing sauerkraut. And then this on the right is Magdalena, who started with us recently. She's developing her own product line. She works for us as well and packaging the products. And she makes things like raw pies and raw carrot cake, energy balls, and there's more things on the horizon. Then we have a Food for All project. We donate produce to week to organizations that feed the homeless, and also this here on this picture is Hungry Homeless Heroes that we donate regularly, and we also donate to the Salvation Army. And we make food for the homeless, and sometimes we coordinate with a restaurant and Hare Krishna devotee who makes bread. Sometimes even our neighbor gets in the act and makes food, but mostly right now it's Anna, my wife, who makes most of the food, and then we deliver it to the homeless in Lahaina. We've donated around $100,000 worth of produce and meals over the past 10 years. There's some food distribution going on in Lahaina. You only see her in the picture because I'm the photographer and the chauffeur. That's the way I help. And I do the cleanup, most of the cleanup after the meal is made. Here's some of the food prep after it's prepared, and then we put it in containers. We also do trash cleanup at this homeless camp. We rented I think like a 30-yard dumpster or some huge thing because there was so much trash there that they had no way to get rid of. So they filled it up and we had it hauled away. And now we have a weekly dumpster pickup there that they can utilize to take care of their trash. And here's a few homeless are growing their own gardens. You got taro and pineapple and bananas growing here. Really nice to see this happening where they're doing things to help themselves. And, you know, as I said earlier, this is not a project that we can do alone. A lot of people have gotten into this work recently, and we're very happy to see that. We're part of the Hawaii Food Hub Hui, which is an alliance of food hubs representing all of the islands. And they help get some grant funding for the food hubs. They've helped us get a couple of grants. And we have monthly meetings where we share ideas, which is really a great group here. Well, I was also part of a purchasing committee for the government institutions. This was probably about a year ago. And now there's a law where 30% of the food purchased in schools needs to be local by the year 2030. And just to give you an idea, these schools, they can buy like 1 million pounds of oranges in a year. You know, I mentioned that our whole business is 1.5 million pounds of produce. So this could be a huge jump for local produce. And we do have some time to prepare for that. And there's a new Maui County Department of Agriculture, which we're very happy to see. This just started 3 or 4 months ago. And at a recent food summit, the Director Arce, was quoted as saying, local harvest is a critical part of the ag economy in Maui County. I was very happy to hear that because for a long time, we did this work and had very little recognition. Even when the pandemic started, we were mostly ignored. And, you know, people started their own organizations and food hubs, whatever. And finally, at some point, we said, well, what are we doing? So they finally started recognizing, oh yeah, they're a food hub too. They've been doing it for 10 years. Okay, good. Anyway, we didn't do it for recognition, and we still don't. And we'll continue to do our best to create a local food supply on Maui. And now there's a Common Ground Collective. They work with landowners to prevent waste of fruits and vegetables on Maui. They've partnered with Local Harvest for distribution. We do distribute a lot of the produce they pick now, but they also donate a lot to food banks. They've recently gotten a large grant, over $400,000. And they, in that grant, they said they were partnering with Local Harvest to grow the market and do the distribution. So we'll be meeting, that just happened, so we'll be meeting at the end of this month to work out the details. And there's also an organization called Food Security Hawaii, which started a project called Maui Ohana Gardens. I have another slide about that I'll show you in a minute. Now there's also Kipuka Olawalu, which is restoring an ahu pua'a here on the island. You know, this is something that we're interested in doing ourselves as a business, just to have an example of an ahupua'a. But then not long ago, I found out about this. I said, well, let's just support them. So that's our plan now. And then there's a Hawaii Farmers Union United, help small farms to unite and encourage positive legislation for the small farmer and move towards regenerative agriculture. And I will be on a panel in December to represent food hubs and farmers markets in Maui.
What is an ahupua'a?
Oh, okay. I was saying earlier, generally means from the mountain to the sea. But if you break the word down, ahu means heap, because they divided the ahupua'as with heaps of stones as boundary markers. And pua'a means pig, because normally they would donate a pig to the chief of the ahupua'a or to the king. So that's where the word ahupua'a came from. And now is mostly referred to as from the mountain. At least the ahupua'a itself is referred to as from the mountain to the sea. And this recreation of Olowalu ahupua'a is to perpetuate early Hawaiian traditions, culture, and spiritual connections in caring for the land and the community. You see the logo over there on the right. On the bottom is people lifting their hands to the vital breath of the universe. And kuleana is their responsibility for the land. Kipuka is the land in the middle here, the land between the lava flows. And then up at the top, you have rain on the mountainsides, which goes into the rivers. And then the sacred oxygen circulates. So just showing that all is connected and we have a responsibility in caring for the island and planet. Food security Hawaii is another one that we want to collaborate with. Like I mentioned, the Maui Ohana Gardens Initiative and Food Forests. Their goal is to plant 1,000 gardens and backyard gardens, 10,000 fruit trees on Maui. And I think they're making really good progress. I heard they're close to 1,000 gardens already. So the farms would provide seedlings and compost. Some could provide it for no charge, and some we would pay, because we want to support the farm also. And then expert gardeners provide guidance for the home grower to make sure that their gardening is as successful as they can be. So we're excited to be connected to this group. They've been going a little longer than we have, and we hadn't even really heard of each other. Common Ground Collective, as I mentioned, preventing food waste on Maui. Here's some of their harvest. Wow, look at all this, so much that could have gone to waste that's not. And we help as much as possible to distribute this produce. It's mostly fruits. And with the new grant funding, we should be able to do a lot more with that project. And I'm going to wrap it up here pretty quickly. The future directions and visions that we have, one is the key to this that I see is creating more supply and more demand. We really can't grow the supply without the demand, and we can't grow the demand without the supply. Because if someone grows a huge supply of a particular crop, say kale, but there's not enough demand. So a lot of it's going to go to waste and they can't sell it. So, but also if we grow a huge demand and then we can't fill that demand, people are going to get discouraged and say, local food can't do what we need. So we have to grow step by step with that. With some new grant funding that we got, we're going to be contracting with some growers to grow the items that we most need in our distribution. Things that we keep running out of, it doesn't seem to be enough available. And we want to add more value-added products because, produce, maybe we have our own 35% of produce on the island because we have a lot of pineapple and papaya and tropical fruits that we don't get from the mainland. But value-added products, I'd say we probably have about 2%. Most of the value-added products, packaged products, come from the mainland. We want to try to make a dent in that and add a lot more local products. And we're doing that by helping other producers as well through our farmers market and through renting our kitchen, through partnering. And then we also want to streamline our processes because as we grow, it becomes more and more difficult to keep up with the demand. So we have to do more computerizing and organizing to keep up with the demand. Cooperatives. I talked some about cooperatives, worker, farmer, and consumer-owned cooperatives. I think is very important to the access of food products, even if you do have the supply. Some people may not be able to afford it. So through the cooperative system, there's more sharing of the wealth, and people will be able to have the purchasing power to buy the food that they need. And eventually, one federation of these cooperatives on the islands, I think, is a vision that I have. I think it would be a beautiful thing. Why not work together for the things that are essential to our lives? We've gone too far with capitalist business to make everything, money oriented, where we really need to work together, just at least for our basic necessities. So, last slide is local harvest, as I mentioned, trying to feed an island in collaboration with others to meet our own food supply, food needs. And here's our websites if you care to check that out. Local Harvest, Sattvic Kitchen, Napili Farmers Market, and Island Fresh Delivery. I would say if we do not have a local food supply, we cannot really, truly have freedom. If someone can control you, control your island or your country simply by cutting off your food supply. So we really do not have freedom unless we have self-reliance in our food. To make that happen, all we really need is for people to put their words into action, and the rest will happen. People talk about it all the time, but we have to act. We have to do what we say. We have to buy local. This revolution starts with you and I. Thank you so much for your time today. Super appreciate it.
Wonderful presentation.
Yes,
Excellent.
thank you, Steve.
Does
Thank
anyone
you.
have a question?
Okay, so yes, we're a little bit over time, but I think we should take time for questions. John, you had a question?
I'm curious. It sounds like plantations started going away and has created some opportunity, although it sounds like that investment group from Canada is cashing in on that. But what happened to the plantations? Did they move elsewhere? Or?
Well, they were mostly controlled by corporations. And this got to the point where they were not profitable enough. There was a lot of competition from other countries, from Central America and so forth, for pineapple and sugarcane. So they couldn't grow those items here cheaply enough. And they finally decided that they were losing money and they really couldn't continue.
That created opportunities.
Yep. Time for the next chapter.
I think we just saw the next chapter.
What's that?
I think we just saw the next chapter.
Oh, well, the beginning of it. It's only a drop in the bucket so far. There's a long way to go.
I have a somewhat trivial question. What does this gesture mean? I see that a lot in the slides.
Okay. There's more than one story about how that came about, but it's the Maui wave. I don't know if I should say how it came about because I've heard 2 or 3 different stories, and I don't want to tell the wrong one. But that's what it stands for, the Maui wave. People use it here all the time.
Oh, interesting.
As sort of a positive communication or comment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely positive. Kind of like an aloha greeting.
Well, as folks around your neighborhood say, mahalo.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Mahalo to you.
Any other questions? I have some, but I won't continue. Yeah, another time perhaps. But thank you very much. Excellent presentation.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
I said, I thought it was wonderful as well. So please join us again. Again, our next presentation will be December 10th. And so unfortunately, it'll be the middle of the night in Hawaii, 9 a.m. Central, which makes it noon Eastern time.
No, it's 9 Pacific.
Remember, these are going to be recorded, and everyone who registered will receive notifications on how to receive the recording when it's ready as well. So again, look for the recordings on proutalliance.org website as well. Is that correct? That we have them there? Anyway, okay. Well, all right. Well, good night, everybody. And thank you for coming. This was an enlightening evening. Thanks again to Steve.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
You stop